You've spent a lifetime auditioning for a role you were never meant to play, the role of being enough. Enough for certain people, enough for specific places, enough to earn titles, attention, and love. You've let yourself be molded like a chameleon, changing your colors in their presence, hoping that this next version of you will finally be the one they approve of. The one who agrees more, who tolerates more, who works harder, who forgives on command. But somehow, the performance always ends the same. You still lose. You still feel hollow, unseen. And in that silence, a dangerous thought begins to form, one you've been too terrified to give a voice to. What if the more you invest, the more leverage they have? What if the truth is, you were never fragile? You were just conditioned to believe strength was about holding on, when in reality, true power ignites the second you master the art of letting go. Machiavelli didn't just suggest this truth. He declared it, not with comforting words, but with brutal strategies that dissected human nature. He understood a fundamental principle most will never grasp. Indifference, when wielded with intention, isn't emptiness. It's power. If you want to stop being a marionette in everyone else's emotional theater, if you're done dancing every time someone pulls on the strings of your insecurities, your ego, or your desperate need for validation, then you must learn the art of not giving a damn. This isn't about apathy or laziness. It's the disciplined ability to disengage from the emotional games others use to control you. Most people are blind to this conditioning. They've been taught that caring is a virtue, that being emotionally entangled is a sign of a good heart. But if you look closer, you'll see what Machiavelli saw. Caring too much makes you an open book. And an open book is easy to manipulate. Consider how easily your day can be derailed. A single comment, a dismissive look, a message left unread. You could be having a perfectly fine morning, but someone's coldness sends you into a tailspin, questioning your own value. You fall apart, not because of their power, but because you granted it to them. You handed over the keys to your emotional state without a second thought. That is the invisible trap. Machiavelli warned leaders never to build their foundation on love, because love is conditional, soft, and easily broken. Fear and detachment, however, are far more resilient materials. And while you may not be ruling a country, you are the sole ruler of your own life, your own mind, your own emotional kingdom. To secure that kingdom, you must sever the threads that others constantly pull to keep you performing for their approval. So ask yourself, where are you over-investing? Be brutally honest. Is it in how others perceive you? Whether they label you as nice, intelligent, attractive, or successful? Is it the weight of your family's expectations? Is it that one friend who only appears when they need a favor, while you're still waiting for them to show up for you? Is it your partner's calculated silence that has you replaying every conversation, searching for your mistake? Now, ask yourself another question. How much of your daily energy is poured into things that drain you instead of fueling you? Because here is the unspoken secret. Caring is expensive. It costs you mental, emotional, and physical currency, and your daily budget is finite. The more you spend on people who wouldn't lose a moment's sleep over you, the less you have for what truly builds your life. If you want to be free, stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. Machiavelli knew that true control isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about achieving absolute mastery over your own reactions. If you recoil at every insult, you've already lost. If you feel the need to argue against every slight, you are playing by their rules. The ultimate power move is when someone tries to provoke you, and you offer them nothing. No anger, no sorrow, just a profound stillness. An indifference so complete, it forces them to confront their own reflection, instead of using you as a mirror for their turmoil. But this goes deeper than just staying quiet. It requires a fundamental rewiring of your worldview. You must stop seeking fairness from people who operate without a moral compass. You must stop demanding closure from people who benefited from your confusion. You must stop begging for respect from those who have none for themselves. And above all, you must stop showing up for people who have already proven they will leave you behind. We are fed a comforting lie from birth, that to care is what makes us human. But Machiavelli understood a more practical truth. To care selectively is what makes you powerful. When you reserve your energy only for what is essential, your time, your principles, your purpose, you become formidable. Not because you're numb, but because you are focused. The instant you stop begging for everyone's approval is the instant you begin to command it. Not by demanding it, but because detachment is unsettling to people. They don't know how to handle someone they can't predict. They lose their power when they can't guilt you, bait you, or manipulate you into proving yourself. And that's when the dynamic inverts. They will start seeking your validation. Have you ever noticed how some people possess a magnetic quality without saying much? It's because they've ceased to broadcast their neediness, the need for praise, for comfort, for a sense of belonging. In that quiet self-assurance, others project strength, confidence, and authority. That is where the power shifts, but you cannot fake this. If you're being detached just to get a reaction, you are still caring. You're still in the game. The true transformation happens when you internalize the core principle. Not everything is worth your energy. Not everyone is entitled to a piece of your mind. And sometimes, the only way to win is to refuse to enter battles that were never worth your time. The world will call you cold. Let them. They will say you've changed. Good. They will try to guilt you for no longer being the person. You once were the person who bent over backward, who said yes through gritted teeth, who swallowed disrespect just to maintain a fragile peace. But you are not here to maintain the peace. You are here to maintain your power. Stop defining your worth by the weight of your sacrifices. Stop believing that your capacity to endure mistreatment is a measure of your character. It isn't. It's a measure of your willingness to abandon yourself for the approval of others. That isn't nobility. It's self-sabotage disguised as virtue. Machiavelli didn't write his rules for those who wanted to be popular. He wrote them for those who wanted to win, to lead, to survive. If you are tired of being an emotional dumping ground for everyone else, if you are done being tormented by situations that should have never been granted access to your mind, then you must ask yourself one critical question. Who truly benefits from your excessive caring? If the answer is not you, it's time to cut the supply. Most people won't tell you this, but your greatest assets, your sensitivity, your compassion, your forgiveness, are not always seen as strengths. In the wrong hands, they become weapons. And the more you care, the more ammunition you give people to fire directly at your peace of mind. They don't need to scream. A simple hint of disappointment is enough. They don't need to fight. They just need to withdraw their affection slightly. And you, conditioned to please, will start to fold, apologizing for crimes you didn't commit, over-explaining yourself to an audience that has already passed judgment. You will shrink yourself to fit into spaces where you were never meant to be. And the most tragic part? You will call this loyalty. Machiavelli would call it a strategic failure, a catastrophic waste of resources, a voluntary surrender of power. Every time you react, every time you over-explain, every time you try to mend what is meant to remain broken, you reinforce the delusion that their perception of you is more real than your own truth. If you want to seize control, stop justifying your existence to people who are dedicated to misunderstanding you. Let them gossip. Let them weave tales from your silence. Let them invent a version of you that helps them feel secure at night. True power isn't found in clearing your name. It's in remaining unbothered when they try to tarnish it. Asterisk, this isn't a journey toward cruelty. It's a journey toward immunity. You have been programmed to believe that being deeply affected by everything is a sign of your humanity. Machiavelli would argue it is a sign of your conditioning, a software written by others. And if you do not rewrite that code, you will live your entire life as a reaction to a system never designed for your well-being. Start to notice what triggers you. What makes your chest tighten? What thoughts keep you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.? These are not random anxieties. They are coordinates, mapping out the exact location of your chains. And once you see the chains, you can begin to break them. Take a common example. Someone ghosts you. No text, no call, just radio silence. The conditioned response is to spiral. You replay every interaction, dissect every word, and blame yourself for someone else's lack of courage. But this spiral isn't really about them. It's about your attachment to being wanted. Your fear that their disappearance confirms your deepest insecurity, that you are not enough. You've tied your worth to their validation. When they withdraw it, your self-esteem crumbles. Machiavelli would say, never allow another's actions to dictate your value, especially someone who demonstrated they couldn't handle you with basic respect. You do not chase. You do not plead. You do not create drama. You observe, you adapt, and you move forward. Because the moment you value your own peace more than you value their chaotic presence, the entire game changes. You start to see people with clarity, not bitterness. You recognize the patterns, the ones who only surface when they need something, the ones who vanish when you are in need, the ones whose apologies are tied to their own self-interest. With this awareness, detachment becomes natural. It isn't the detachment of resentment. It's the detachment of wisdom. There is a profound difference between giving up and letting go. Giving up is an emotional collapse. It's messy, loud, and full of regret. Letting go is a calculated decision. It is quiet, clear, and final. Machiavellian indifference thrives in that quiet space. When you let go of the need to be understood, you become impossible to manipulate. When you let go of the need to be liked, you become impossible to intimidate. And when you let go of the need for everything to be fair, you become untouchable. People will call you harsh for this. Let them. They will say you've grown cold. Good. In a world that is constantly setting emotional traps, a little coldness is a survival mechanism. And here is the final twist. When you stop caring in the way you were taught to, you begin to care in the right way. You stop hemorrhaging energy on people who have already shown you their true colors. You stop investing in systems designed to profit from your self-doubt. You stop playing games that were rigged from the start. Instead, you invest that energy into your time, your vision, your mission. You start playing the long game. And in the long game, emotional detachment isn't a handicap. It's a strategic advantage. Machiavelli understood that those who can disengage emotionally are the ones who can see the entire board. They aren't seduced by empty promises. They don't panic under pressure, and they don't fall for flattery. They observe, they calculate, and they remain anchored to their own truth, regardless of external noise. This is how you win. Not by being louder or nicer, but by being unmovable. You don't engage with fools. You don't chase apparitions. You don't negotiate with the emotionally bankrupt. You simply recognize the game for what it is and walk away. People cannot manipulate someone who no longer craves what they offer. They cannot guilt someone who has nothing left to prove. They cannot push someone who knows their own ground. When you achieve this level of internal clarity, you will notice how quiet your life becomes. Not because the world has stopped being noisy, but because you have changed. You have become unshakable. The things that once wounded you now pass through you like a ghost. Imagine a life where another person's mood doesn't hijack your day, where rejection is not a trigger for self-loathing, where your success is not measured by applause, That is what this brings you. Not an absence of feeling, but sovereignty over it. And here's what no one tells you. When you stop giving away your emotional currency to those who never deserved it, you begin to attract people who respect it. People who honor your time, who communicate directly, who don't need you to be small for them to feel big. But those people only appear after you've mastered one thing, the ability to walk away. Not with rage, but with a calm indifference. Once you stop caring in the way the world conditioned you to, once you reclaim your emotions from the hands of others, you become powerful. Not in a way that threatens others, but in a way that threatens the systems that relied on your self-doubt to keep you in line. When that happens, you are no longer easy to control. You are no longer an option. You are no longer their safety net. You become a force they must respect, not because you demanded it, but because you no longer require it. This transformation is not a sudden event. It's a series of small, deliberate choices. At first, they will feel like acts of rebellion. Saying no to a manipulative favor will make your stomach churn. Staying silent instead of defending yourself will feel like a surrender. Walking away from disrespect will trigger a primal urge to turn back. That is the detoxification process. You are not just breaking habits. You are dismantling an identity aversion of yourself built on the foundation of being needed, wanted, and approved of. But you are not here to be palatable. You are not here to sacrifice your own peace for the comfort of others. You are here to move through this world unburdened, not because you are emotionless, but because you have mastered your emotions. And when you are the master of them, no one else can use them as a weapon against you. This is what Machiavelli meant by appearing virtuous while being prepared to abandon that virtue when it becomes a liability. It is not hypocrisy. It is strategic adaptation. It is the ability to show empathy without being consumed by it, to love without becoming a prisoner to it. People will test your new resolve. They always do. The moment you stop reacting, they will increase the pressure. They will poke harder, provoke louder, push further, because your reaction was their validation. It was their proof that they still had access to you. When you deny them that access, do not expect celebration. Expect a fight. They will accuse you of being heartless. Let them. They will say you've changed. Smile because it's true. They will call you selfish, but what they really mean is you are no longer available to be used by them. To people who feed on chaos, your peace is a threat dot, so you must keep going. Watch how quickly the wrong people fade from your life when you stop providing the energy they crave. Watch how the dynamics shift, not because you fought back, but because you quit the game entirely. That is the Machiavellian secret most overlook. You don't need to conquer others to have power. You only need to become indifferent to the prizes they dangle in front of you. The job, the apology, the affection, the validation. If they know you need it, they will use it against you. People can sense emotional hunger, and the more you starve, the more games they will play. So starve the game itself. Not by becoming bitter, but by elevating yourself above the entire board. By becoming so rooted in your own self-respect that nothing they offer or withdraw can alter your state. That is authentic power, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. It is a quiet, immovable force that no longer runs on the fuel of external approval. Imagine it. Someone insults you, and the words don't land. Someone ghosts you, and your foundation doesn't shake. Someone lies about you, and their fiction cannot touch your truth. You see it, you acknowledge it, but you do not absorb it. You become the observer, not the reactor. And that single shift changes everything. Suddenly, you are no longer being dragged into their dramas. You are watching from a distance, deciding if, when, and how you will engage. Because once you stop caring about being liked, you can finally start being respected. And once you stop caring about being understood, you can finally be free. People always ask, how do I make others treat me with respect? The answer has nothing to do with changing them. It's about changing what you are willing to accept. And you only stop accepting chaos when you no longer need the people who bring it. This is the birthplace of detachment. It comes from clarity, from seeing patterns for what they are, not what you wish they were. It comes from recognizing that some people's actions feel like affection, but are, in fact, instruments of control. It comes from understanding that consistency is proven by patterns, not by promises. When you see this with absolute clarity, you no longer beg for them to change. You simply remove yourself from their path. Machiavelli would approve, not because it's cruel, but because it is strategic. Emotional self-preservation is the first move towards psychological mastery. Not mastery over others, but over the only opponent that has ever mattered, the version of yourself who cared too much about all the wrong things. That version of you wanted closure when you needed clarity. It defended itself when silence was the ultimate power move. It gave away second chances like they were nothing, hoping that one day someone would finally see your worth. But worth is not something to be discovered by others. It is something to be owned by you. When you finally own it, your life begins to curate itself. People who cannot handle your newfound detachment will leave. People who can no longer manipulate you will vanish. People who relied on your weakness to feel strong will be gone. And what will be left in their place? Stillness, clarity, peace, not because your life is perfect, but because you no longer require it to be. You don't rise by fixing the world around you. You rise by mastering your reactions to it. Machiavelli would call this the ultimate strategy, not controlling others, but becoming so internally fortified that no one can ever control you. So start today. Notice where you flinch. Notice where you chase. Notice where you over-explain. Those are the pressure points. Those are the strings. And you are the one holding the scissors. Cut them. And once you do, feel how light you become. Hear how the noise quiets. And watch, most importantly, as nothing and no one can ever truly shake you again. Because when you stop caring in the way they programmed you to care, when you detach your peace from their chaos, their moods, their games, their approval, you become something they cannot touch. You become free.